This special legislation committee meeting. What's on the agenda tonight is the adoption of guidelines for flying flags on government property. And I think Councilman Hazelton, Hazelton, you submitted the request. Councilwoman Hazelton, excuse me, you submitted the request?
I did.
Okay, so I'm going to let you go ahead and start to explain it if you will.
Okay, I am going to start with our mission statement so that everybody is clear on what we established on May 29th, 2018 as the mission statement of the City of Medina. Establishing a mission statement is essential to the strategic planning process. The mission statement should reflect the essential purpose of the city and will form the baseline for the plan's vision statement, goals, and strategies action items. Specifically, our mission statement reflects guiding principles and should only be changed to reflect major shifts in the physical, social, or economic environment of the community. Through a series of workshops open to the public, the steering committee established, revised, and keep in mind, this is all with resident input, refined a commonly shared mission statement for the city. The final mission statement concisely represents the city's purpose, values, and approach to government. The mission statement of the City of Medina reads as follows: to preserve, promote, and support a community that values a high quality of life, local heritage, and diversity through an approach to government marked by innovation, responsiveness, and resourcefulness. On that note, simply interpreting our mission statement for the City of Medina, I believe that the display of government speech on government-owned flags is appropriate and checks quite a few boxes on there. It does give us that innovation and responsiveness to current issues. And we proved that in 2019 when we passed ordinance number 11219 and 11119. Both of those passed pretty much overwhelmingly. Our city decided when they voted the next year that this was an issue that they wanted a candidate in the Ward 3 office that was promoting LGBTQ rights. So I proposed some legislation that would allow City Council to place flags on government posts or city-owned posts that represent our mission statement. I feel that the pride flags that were displayed during June are a representation clearly of what we strive for. The innovation is reflected in our legislation that we passed. I think that the diversity, the welcoming of our residents and the people that came and spoke about how included their family members, their friends felt when they saw this. So I have proposed this ordinance that says that we, as a council, will consider any other council member's request to put up a flag. We will not accept public requests from private organizations or anything. A council member has to propose it, submit a request for council action, and then the council will decide if it is indeed in line with our mission statement. That is what my ordinance proposes. I leave it open for discussion. This proposal is not uncommon in Ohio. I think that Medina is one of the, we were a leader in promoting LGBTQ rights when we passed that legislation. So much so that our local nonprofit that worked so hard to get that legislation passed was recognized by a statewide organization called Equality Ohio. Out of all the cities and all the groups in Ohio, we were recognized because we were leading the future. So I would like, I'll pass it on for any further comments, but that's essentially what my ordinance says. Just to recap the mission statement, I do have, a copy of an email that was sent by our mayor establishing that the mission statement of the city talks of embracing, supporting, and promoting diversity. Our city council and administration also passed an ordinance a few years ago to prohibit discrimination based on LGBTQ beliefs in the areas of housing, employment, and assembly. Does anybody have any comments?
Thank you, Councilwoman Hazeltine. Appreciate
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
Councilman Rose, would you like to comment, talk, give suggestions?
Thank you. Just one thing. When this meeting was set up, I informed Kathy that I have a 6:30 meeting already, so I've got a 6:15 hard stop. So just want you to know when I get up, it's nothing personal. Okay. As far as this goes, I do understand where Councilwoman Hazeltine's coming from, but I just want to, I have a prepared statement here. Diversity has many nuances and interpretations. Medina has a diverse population with many demographics represented. We have a very diverse employment picture with healthcare, manufacturing, education, commercial, retail, large corporations, and small businesses all represented. We have a diverse religious community, as many different belief systems can be found in the city. Driving through the neighborhoods, one can see its support for a diverse group of sports teams. Our 4th of July parade shows a very large, diverse group of people marching from belief systems to occupations to political thought, and the list can go on and on. There are 2 common threads in all of this. 1, all are welcome in the Medina community, and 2, all of us unite under the U.S. flag. I urge this committee to continue to encourage the residents to continue to support that which they believe on their private property and keep the city united in representing all by flying only the state of Ohio flag and or the flag of the United States on city property. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Rose. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to any comments on this? And I would just ask you that, considering that Councilman Rose needs to go, needs to leave at 6:15, if you would like to comment tonight, maybe keep it relatively short, maybe to the point. I would appreciate that. And my expectation is that this request in some form, my goal is actually that this request in some form will go up to council as a whole, where there will be further opportunity for discussion by each member of council. So if you'd like to speak, I'd appreciate it if you go to the podium in the back, give your name and address, and if the statement could be to point of this specific discussion and brief. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Barry Norris. I live at 190 Potomac Court here in Medina, and I just want to, not that I have a vote, but second or endorse what Paul Rose said. We should be in the business here in the City Council of representing all people, not just selecting certain ones and certain groups, because it seems to me whoever has the authority to define the word diversity is holding all the cards. And it certainly appears that a lot of organizations who maybe not would maybe not agree with Councilwoman Hazeltine would probably, I would guess, would be excluded from having their particular flag. But a better question is, why would you do that? Why would you have an ordinance and a policy and get involved in things that you know full well are going to be extremely controversial? Why would you do that? I can't believe that is really the spirit of the law, so to speak, the spirit of what a city council is all about. I just cannot imagine that would be the case. It certainly seems that if we display only the American flag, with some possible exceptions of the Ohio State flag, that seems to make a whole lot of sense. I know you're going to do what you're going to do, but thank you for letting me speak my piece.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jill Michalski, 6101 Triple Crown Drive in Medina. I wasn't prepared to come today. I learned this at the last minute, but I thank you for letting me speak today. I'm going to also support wholeheartedly what Councilman Rose just spoke about. I have no problem with other flags, but I don't see the council as their responsibility to promote or to support one particular flag over another. I agree with the mission statement that we need to support diversity, but to hang one flag over another, whatever the case may be, is, in my mind, in and of itself diversive. It divides us. Like the last gentleman said, it's controversial. Not because it's controversial should we not attack or discuss that, but I think the city council's job is to support and promote our community as a whole, no matter what our religious background, gender, color, whatever it may be. And honestly, in my perspective, the LGBTQ gay pride flag does not represent who I am as a person. I have no problem with that flag, but that's just not who I am, and I'm a member of this community. I just don't think, again, it's the city council's responsibility to get into that. And as well, there's other ways to promote diversity than hanging one group's flag over another. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Betsy Jenny, and I live on Dogwood Trail here in Medina. I also completely agree with Mr. Rose. I also don't think that that the flags represent assembly. We need to keep our personal personal preferences for different things on our own property, like he said. Let's keep our community united and not divided. And so the American Ohio flag is a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. There are four other council people that are in the room. Would any, pardon? Oh, Bruce? I didn't see you. Go ahead, Bruce.
Bruce Gold, 407 Providence Drive. I would like to respectfully ask that the flags be limited to the U.S. flag and the state of Ohio, because those two flags unite all of us. Some of the flags that could potentially be used would be a divider, whether it be a Christian flag or a other religion, or if it was used for certain groups. The potential to have a organization wanting their flag coming to a council member to ask them to put forward a request, and it would be coming through the council person, that could potentially be divisive, would cause somewhat of a controversy, and I believe it would bring a poor light to the city of Medina. So if we had an organization, say, wanting to bring in a Democrat organization, and now all of a sudden we're in a partisan politics, that would be divisive. If you wanted to bring it into a religious discussion, some of those flags would be divisive. Now, if you're going to allow a religious flag, are you going to rely, or are you going to allow for example, a Satanist organization? How would that reflect on Medina? You're getting into a very, very sticky situation, and all due respect to Mr. Shields, Mr. Coyne, but we have far too many lawyers, and it's very litigious. We saw that with various organizations who went out and sued at Baker in Colorado, another one in Washington, because they wouldn't bake a cake that represented the party who wanted the cake and their religious or non-religious beliefs. And because of that, they took and suspended rights of those individuals. I'd hate to have to do that. Mr. Huber has enough work to do. We don't need to have him fighting additional lawsuits. And I think this would open ourselves up for that problem and the potential damages that that would do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else speaking?
Good evening. My name is Teresa Franklin, and I live on 1102 Wood Glen Circle. And I too agree with Paul Rose. I believe that being inclusive doesn't mean picking one flag over another. It's divisive to fly one flag over another. It's not unitive like the American flag or the Ohio State flag. I just think it's not the idea of inviting everybody. And if inclusiveness is inviting everybody, why are we choosing one flag to fly and not a bunch of other ones? I mean, and the council is the one that's going to decide. I think that public land I think we should have more say-so who flies a flag on public land. We have our own private land, and we have our own rights to fly whatever we want on those. And we see plenty of those flags around town that welcome other businesses and stuff, and they choose to do that. But I don't think that I want one flag chosen over another flying on our square. Thank you.
Thank you. There are 4 council people here. If any of you have a comment now that you'd like to make, maybe keep it brief as well. I don't know if you want to start, Reggie?
So when this legislation came about, I was not part of council. I understand what people are saying, and we certainly want to be an inclusive community. My question is, other than religious flags, what other flags were denied?
Well, to my knowledge, no other flags have been, would be denied or have been denied? It would be or have been?
Which flags have been denied to fly in our square that were not based on a religion? Because I certainly can understand a religion flag not being flown in the city of Medina. What other flags were denied?
Have been denied then, you're saying? None that
Yeah, we have not denied anyone.
Not that I know of.
No.
However, under this proposal, as it would work as government speech, partisan political would not be possible. It's not included in this. So you couldn't have a Republican flag, a Democratic flag, a Libertarian. You couldn't have a Catholic flag, a Muslim flag. Those already are ruled out. So the way the language is in government speech is it would be a council person would have to come to council, propose flying this flag, like a Boy Scout flag, for some period of time, and then council would have to vote on that, whether or not that would be allowed. And then there was actually quite a bit more to it, because we need to look into the depth of this. Is not just do we do this or not. It is then who buys the flag, who purchases the flag, what's the standard for the flag, what's the size, what kind of material is it made of so that that flag holds up. There's a lot of detail that needs to go in. So right now we're talking generally just about this narrow issue itself, whether or not 5 people or whatever on city council, majority of council, feel that this is appropriate for the city as a way to handle this question. And we have, the response from the law director. He gave us options. We could handle it this way. We can say it's only going to be the American flag. That's it. Or we could say, the one I totally disagree with is we would have like a public flag on the square. And that would be anybody could fly a flag there. And to me, that's the free speech flag. That would be a disaster, because you could fly the Nazi flag. You could fly all kinds of things that would be abhorrent to the majority of people or some people in town. So this is just this narrow, what we're doing right now is this proposal is a very narrow thing of whether or not we would adopt this and use this as a way to regulate it as a body of city council. So, thank you. Greg?
One of the things I've gotten a little up to speed on in having some of the law directors I have a lot of regard for look at this has to do with the exemption for religious flags or political flags. It sounds contrary to common sense, but the latest cutting edge in First Amendment litigation involves litigating against a government entity for putting in an exemption for religion and politics. The Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals recently came out with a decision that chastised eliminating the political speech because that was characterized as viewpoint discrimination on the part of the rule maker that did that. And a recent 2019 Third Circuit Court of Appeals case just struck down legislation that exempted religious flags all the way across the board, or religious representations or advertisement, because that was deemed to be by that court viewpoint discrimination, and that court is directly in conflict with, I think, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, and they literally put it into their decision, essentially stating that this Court of Appeals is in conflict with that Court of Appeals, and the issue is not going to get resolved until it goes to the United States Supreme Court. And the argument is, even though you would think it makes sense to keep religion out of this or politics out of this, the argument is you can't do that. If you open up this box, you can't engage in that viewpoint discrimination, and the courts are divided on it. And so the thing that's concerning is that if in this draft of the legislation where we exempt that, that could be a lightning rod for a big issue that's kind of on the cutting edge of First Amendment litigation. And I've spent a lot of time reading First Amendment litigation in the last year, and it's a quagmire, in my opinion. I don't know how the United States Supreme Court is going to resolve this issue with religion and politics that has come up as a result of a couple of these decisions. Because if you get into religious flag flying or political flag flying, you're absolutely going to invite a fight. And it just goes on, and I don't know how they're going to resolve that.
So we've got a lot of things to consider. Thanks. I appreciate all your work on this, Greg, because it's been really helpful. However, if in fact you had to allow political or religious flags, it would still be at the purview of City Council to agree to do that, as it would whether it was a Boy Scout flag or any other kind of flag.
Well, then
correct?
the legal fight becomes, okay, what is the policy that you're following, and what criteria are you following by deciding you're going to fly this flag as opposed to that flag? And is that criteria going to withstand judicial scrutiny? And with the courts as divided as they are, I'm not sure what to advise on trying to establish a policy for deciding who gets a flag and who doesn't. But if there's no policy in place, you're almost sure to have a problem, and so it's a real issue.
Right. Thank you. Thanks. Denny, anything? Mayor? Either way, I'm just trying to watch the clock for Paul.
Understood. So what we just heard from the law director is anytime you have federal circuit courts of appeal with differing rulings, that makes the topic ripe for the U.S. Supreme Court to consider resolving those. That's the resolve to those differing rulings. So for us to pass something now with these things already pending before or likely pending before the U.S. Supreme Court, which will then clarify it for us, seems to be not good timing. The second thing is the city leases the square from the Medina County Commissioners. In the lease of the square, we have permission to use it for park purposes. If it's to be used for other purposes, e.g. display of flags, then the leaseor, which is the Medina County Commissioners, would have to approve that. I understand the request for council action as an attempt to show inclusion, but what we saw last year when we posted the flags, it didn't create a sense of inclusion. It created a sense of division. And that was on me. I made that mistake. I own that. I'm respectfully asking the council not to make the same mistake again, because it is not going to show inclusion for all. It's going to show division and exclusion for others. I did approve both the ordinance that prohibited discrimination in housing, employment, and public accommodations based on sexual orientation and gender identity, as well as when we changed the ethnic intimidation to be just intimidation in our local ordinances and added the terms sex, gender identity, or expression, or sexual orientation. But I will not support this proposal for the flag, and I just want the committee members to be aware of that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Denny?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jess, I appreciate, putting this forward. I've always been one for promoting kindness to everyone and inclusion to everyone. But I do see, and again, I supported the LGBTQ ordinance for non-discrimination. I support Gay Pride Month. I support Juneteenth. I support Christmas. I support a lot of things that we've displayed. The international festival that we used to have, where we displayed other, flags from different countries. I support all that. But the most comments that I've received via phone call and emails in recent weeks, knowing that this committee was going to address this, people have the same comments that were made tonight, that it should, on public property, it should just be the Ohio flag or the United States flag, which I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I shouldn't say that. There's going to be somebody that's going to disagree with that. But I think maybe we can find some other ways to celebrate Gay Pride Month, which again, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody on council, but I don't think there's anybody that's against celebrating Gay Pride Month or celebrating Juneteenth or celebrating Martin Luther King Day or celebrating Christmas. Maybe we can find as a group, maybe not as the government, but as a group, to support those things without displaying their flags. So that would be my suggestion right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Denny. John or Jim, briefly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Briefly? Oh, no.
Well,
No, I appreciate,
I'm not sure if you can be brief.
what's trying to be accomplished here. And I guess I'm just sitting here thinking about, were these same arguments that we're talking about today made back in the 50s and 60s because of race? And it all sounds the same, and it seems like it's a growing process for this community and country to go through these issues, because everybody, as times change, people change. And, I look at this, and I don't even know what we're really arguing over, because I guess I'm a type of person that believes in, America's made up of a bunch of different people. Not any one group of people is more important than any other group of people. And it seems like we always get in those arguments trying to say, well, one religion is better than the other religion. It's like, no, it's not. Every religion is the same, and not one religion is more important than the other religion. I also I thought we became America because we got away from England because we didn't want to follow any one religion, and that was what the English were trying to make America do, is to follow religion. So I don't know. The Establishment Clause, I thought in the Constitution was kind of important, but it sounds like what Mr. Huber's saying is that we're going as a country to make sure that religion is part of government, which is, I've never understood that because I thought that's why we became America, but I go on a tangent for that one. But anyways, the flag issue, I guess, was Mr. Huber brings up, and I really never thought about what the mayor brought up about the leasing of the square for 99 years. That's kind of an interesting point. I guess I haven't read that lease in a while, but I know it exists. But there is a lot of controversy surrounding what the government or the courts are trying to accomplish. And I guess I need more clarity on exactly what does that mean, because personally I don't want to get sued again because I've been sued 3 or 4 times this year. But Mr. Huber loves that. But I think that it's important that we give an indication and do what we believe is best for the community, which I believe is diversity. But it seems like the flag issue and the other issues, both legal and under our lease, has to get solved first and for us to move forward, because I don't know how we move forward without those issues being solved, specifically the lease on the square, because I was unaware of that just till now, thinking about it, that we do not own the square. That's correct. We lease the square, which is kind of ironic because the square is the most important part of the city. But I guess I need to get more clarification on the lease and find out a little bit more clarification on the ordinance as drafted from a legal perspective. What is the best approach for that? I do agree with you, Mr. Lamb. I don't think an appropriate approach is to have a free speech designated flagpole. I think that would be devastating to our community. But I do understand the importance of trying to make sure that we are all included, but I don't know what that means again. I'm trying to figure that out myself, because everybody is saying we don't want this because we don't want to be everybody not included because we're favoring one group. I don't think we're favoring any one group. I think everybody in this community should be equally represented. So I guess I don't have an answer at this time.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your brevity.
I'll try to be a little quicker, Bill. I will say, I appreciate some of Denny's comments. I certainly, as an attorney, as Mr. Gold pointed out, I listened to Mr. Huber and respect Mr. Huber's opinions and his concerns. I want to protect the city from liability. I appreciate what the mayor said. I'm a very patriotic person. I'm not going to apologize for that. I think about the very first time we had an international fest and those flags went up, and the people who talked to me and were most upset were veterans, and that meant a lot to me, that they felt like there should never be anything but the American flag flying the highest on our square. I kind of believe that too. I feel strongly about that. I'm willing to listen to some more information and some things that need to be worked out, but my preference would be the American flag would be the flag that we fly on the square, and we figure out other ways to recognize and support diversity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. So I guess I have a couple questions here before we move along. And I guess one of them is what I hear in some of these, the opposition is, it harkens back to me to a few years ago when we brought up the idea of equality legislation that the President of the Council and I specifically worked on for almost a period of on and off for 2 years before that was successfully, we were successful in getting that legislation passed to protect people with those rights that the mayor did just explain. And in thinking about this idea, it seems to me that we have flown many flags on the square. Since I was mayor in 1982, those light poles were used to fly a whole variety of flags. And contrary to Jim's comment about veterans, being a veteran, I guess my idea of the flag always was it wasn't the flag itself, because the flag is a symbol. It's what the flag stood for. And what the flag stood for and what people fight for and die for is about that freedom that the President of the Council talked about, why we left England, which that act in itself, when we talk about the fear or the scariness of controversy, by the way, when we split with England, that was relatively controversial. But if we really care about the flag, I guess we think we probably made a good decision. We're happy where we are. The idea that we have this republic, this representative democracy that we have, and it's easy to talk about inclusion, but maybe sometimes it's more difficult to actually just flat out accept the idea of equality and inclusion. So when I think of all the symbols and the things that have gone on and been hung on the square, the flags that have been hung, the banners that we put up, the religious activities that we have on the square, I do believe that the city owns the gazebo. A flag has a specific definition, but a part of that definition is that that flag is simply a symbol. It is a symbol, no different from a Christmas tree. A Christmas tree is a symbol of Christ, a Christian religion. Nothing different. City workers put up, and the city pays for, Christmas lights, right? I don't object to that. When I was mayor, we were the first, that was the first time it ever happened. We put up Christmas lights. So flying a flag, when I consider all the flags that have been flown, I guess the only time I've ever heard the issue raised, and I think where this, the genesis of this idea of a proposal is because it is this one flag, I think, that we're talking about. It is this one particular, it seems to be this one particular flag. So if I'm thinking of things that are flying on the square, Greg, is a flag and a banner, if you look at a flag or you look at a banner, would they be considered the same thing?
I would think within the realm of common sense, they're probably both symbols.
Okay. And the only things that that are government property on the square that we use wouldn't just be the light poles. Does the city own the flower pots? Sure, the city owns the flower pots. Main Street has a program for Halloween. Well, if you look at the Halloween decorations, what are in those flower pots? Promotions for businesses in the city, promotions for businesses out of the city in a government-owned flower pot. I have a list of them. Do we object to that? Do we allow that? Or do we need to make a decision on City Council whether we will allow any of those businesses that put their signs in those flower pots for over a month to promote their business in a city-owned flower pot? Greg? Is that the same?
Are you talking about in reference to the lease that the mayor mentioned? Is that, are we?
No, I'm not talking about the lease. I'm talking about the flower pots that are scattered all around the square in the city right-of-way that we own, that we allow businesses to put their signs in to promote their businesses.
That's a Main Street program, not a city program.
But Main Street is a nonprofit, and they don't own the flower pots.
Right.
But we don't allow anybody to hang a flag on a light pole, which is actually owned by the city in the same sense, I believe, as the flower pot, correct?
Well, I mean, I don't think it ever really came up for the council to weigh in and decide or make a decision. It just started to happen, and I don't know that anybody really considered it.
We should consider it now.
Well, that's probably a good idea.
So what we're talking about is a flag, which is a symbol of what this country represents. We're talking about a symbol. And there are many symbols displayed on the square every one of the 12 months of the year that there are probably many people that wouldn't agree with, because I have never seen a religious celebration sponsored by the city in the gazebo, ever. But I do see Christian celebrations. We do not hang up things, banners, and things of significance for the multitudes of religions that we have here. We just do it for one. So when we are just looking at the flag issue, I don't think you can just discount everything else that relates to that as a symbol, because a flag is in fact a symbol. So we don't like what some flags stand for, what the symbol is. So my sense would be, if I had 7 people on city council, I would hope that they could make wise decisions and smart decisions and decisions that reflect the sense of this community if they were given the opportunity to make a decision on what flag should fly from these flagpoles. and what flags are representative enough of this community or meaningful enough. And it would take 5 people, 4 people, 5 people, I'm not sure with the mayor, I don't know, to do that. But I guess that's not too scary to me, because I'm convinced that no matter who's on city council or in the city administration, that they would probably be able to make decisions that would relate to this community in a well-meaning way. Litigation, I guess, is always out there. Everything we do, there's litigation. During the hunt for the deer thing, I brought up an issue of litigation. I brought up an issue of things that could happen, and all of them were set aside. Nobody here agreed with me that there would be any problem with any of these things. But now we're concerned again now about litigation. But that's always there. No matter what we do, we are open to litigation. For God's sake, we just went through years of it over the courthouse, right? So, in closing, for now, I mean, I think that this is a decision that would be a good discussion of 7 members of City Council, and I would propose then, if I get a motion, to send this issue as Councilwoman Hazeltine presented it to City Council to have a discussion at Finance Committee.
Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to pass this on to the Finance Committee as written.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. The meeting is closed.